Welcome to Soul Interviews on soulandeffect.com. The sound of emotion.
It is springtime in Brooklyn. It's beautiful. This is my favorite time. I mean, I love fall because my birthday's in the fall, but visually, this is my favorite time of the year, just to like feel the winter subside and the new energy of spring come in. So it's nice.
And how is it with you, Darien? Do you have those seasons differences as well down in LA? Or how is it there? I had never been there.
Well, there are seasons, but it's a bit different because it's usually a bit warmer in contrast always to like the East Coast. And so during the winter time, generally it might get down to the 50s or maybe 40s, but doesn't get below freezing or anything, just several degrees hotter in comparison. So it doesn't seem quite as seasonal. But there are seasons where it rains more frequently, in the East Coast.
But you are born in Baltimore, Maryland, and you have actually lived and studied in New York, Darien. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I studied. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I lived in New York for 2.5 years. But it was like a very impactful 2.5 years. I've made friends that are like brothers, and that's where I connected with Gordon a little bit prior to my moving to New York. But we became closer, worked more, and just had to cultivate a deeper friendship during my time there. Along with a few other good friends of mine, musician friends. So, yeah, New York is very special to me.
Yeah, I assume that you and Gordon, you had more than a professional relation. That you were friends as well. So that was my initial feeling when I noticed our communication regarding the song. That I contacted Gordon. It was a song written by you, Gordon, and produced by Darien, or Back to Love.
Well, technically, we're both writers overall, I guess, in most ways, like music and lyrics all, contributing to the content, but Gordon handled all the, lyric and, melody, things like that, and I did the music.
You are a multi-instrumentalist. You play many instruments, Darien. Yeah. How is it with you, Gordon? You are mainly, may I say, a songwriter.
Yeah, and a singer, of course, and a music producer as vocal arranger, and a pianist. I play piano. I played the trumpet as a child, and I quit after college. I retired from that. But I am a pianist, decent pianist, not as great as Darien, but I can play piano to write and to accompany myself for certain things.
Did you guys met on a place where musicians were hanging out, or were you also studying there, Gordon, back then at Berklee College of Music?
No, Darien, you were a student at Berklee, I think.
When I was in my last year.
Yeah, I had a performance in Baltimore, and a friend of ours who introduced us, named Rob, was playing the drums, and I needed a keyboard. I don't know who played the bass that day. I asked him to help me get a keyboard. I think somebody else was supposed to play the keyboards, but then they couldn't do it at the last minute. And he said Darien could do it. But he was like, but Darien's in college, and Darien did not have time to rehearse. I'm like, who's going to come and play on my show that's in college and cannot come to rehearsal? Like, really, Rob? Like, I was like, okay. But I didn't have time to argue for anything else. It was kind of the need arose. But Rob vouched for him. He's like, he is very competent at anything he puts his mind and musical head around, and he'll do it. And he did a great job. He did the show. Like, we didn't really have a chance to really talk. It was kind of like in and out. He did the gig um, while you were still a student. But then Rob also told me that after you were graduating from school, that he was going to be moving to New York. And so Rob was it? I think Rob came to New York and I think stayed with me. And there was a jam session at the Five Spot, which was this jam session at this jazz club, like R&B kind of R&B sun jazz kind of open mic situation. A guy named Nate Jones was running. I think I brought Rob, and Rob invited Darien, who had just moved to New York, and that's the first time we all like kind of ended up hanging out there. And Darien was like, saying that he had just graduated from college and he was a producer. So I mean, I meet people all the time that say, "Oh, like everybody's a producer."
Right.
But when he sent me his music, I was like, "But this music is really good." Like, it was shockingly impressive, and for somebody that was as young as he was, but that they had a very mature musical sensibility to it. But also just being around, I meet people all the time that tell me that they have beats or they have tracks and they send them to me, and it's kind of a needle haystack. But immediately I really liked what I heard, and then we started meeting and befriending and working on writing songs. And it seems like we spent a lot of time together in that 2.5 month period. I mean, you stayed for the last 2 months because you had left your apartment and stayed for the last 2 months here.
The last 3
at my house.
Yep.
The last couple of months when we were actually finishing up one of my records at that particular time. I sometimes forget that it was only such a short period of time. It was a rich time of our relationship, but a rich time one thing I did believe in my heart is that I knew that you were very talented, and I knew that you were very confident, and I knew that you were a go-getter and somebody that I could proudly introduce to anybody, from Barry Eastman, who's a producer of mine, who started having you do drum programming for him, to another friend of mine, Wendell Haynes, who's a very, very, very accomplished, widely celebrated person who does music for soundtracks for films. So I knew that once anybody that I could introduce you to, you would more than hold your own, and would also just have, good mamas and papas home training to not make me look bad. So it was a situation like, I knew that once he left New York and was moving to LA, I knew that he had the skill sets to make a life for himself in music. I had no fear that he would not be able to do just fine, and he's done great, and I'm proud.
I appreciate that, G.
You're
That's
welcome.
very kind words, Darien,
Yeah.
from Mr. Chambers. What were your first impressions of Gordon?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we had a gig in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is like a suburb of DC. Gordon was just very friendly. I was familiar with, everything most of what he had worked on up to that point. He was just very personable and very easy to work with, and just seemed open. We talked about, my production for a bit. This was like September of maybe 2006. I graduated from college 2007, moved to New York April of 2008. So in between that time of graduating, we really didn't, keep in touch much, but it was kind of like, hey, when you come to New York, just let me know, just hit me up. And I did. We met, and Gordon was just instantly super cool. Always sharing stories and sharing information. Always appreciate it. And he and I just became super cool, played music, listened to music. It was always great. It was always and I think it was important for me to just have a positive mentor in this industry that wasn't, in any way trying to, get over, you know what I'm saying? Because I think there's a lot of that happens. I mean, in a lot of businesses, it's far more, I think, documented in music. So I really appreciated that. And just of the people that I've met through Gordon, Wendell Haynes, Barry Eastman, a few others, they've all been, super like-minded people as well that have the same level of character. So it's been awesome.
I have had the pleasure to interview Barry J. Eastman, and he's very, very nice and humble. guy.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I did a radio show on a UK station called Solar Radio. And at one occasion, I had something I called artists doing radio. So I
Mm.
asked some different artists to record their own radio show, play their favorite music, and he actually did that.
Oh,
But like you, Gordon, we have talked before. We haven't seen each other, but you have always been
yes.
very polite, very humble, professional. So it has always been a pleasure talking to you as well.
Thank you.
Do you agree, Gordon? When I think about Darien, I get the same kind of feeling that I get from, for example, Chucky Booker, Robert Brookins, Morris Pleasure. Talented, multi-talented persons. They sing, they produce, they write, they are multi-instrumentalists. Is it a good way, you think, Gordon, to put Darien together with those guys as similar-minded, maybe?
Sure, those and more. I mean, I like talented. I just love talent. When I'm in the presence of talent, I'm always going to do anything I can to support it, to mentor it, to be inspired by talent. Or, I mean, like Darien, I remember when you were working on your album, you played me your album, and I just thought the album was going to be you doing producing with, different singers. And
Like a compilation.
I was feeling kind of aware. I'm like, well, he didn't ask me to sing a song. Then he played the album for me, and then it was him singing. He did all the vocals.
That's hilarious.
I was like, okay, wow, he's actually, and I remember when you were like, playing, when you moved to LA and you started learning how to play the bass,
Yeah.
and, you started singing. Darien is somebody who is, is ever challenging himself and ever expanding, his what he wants to do to express himself. And I think that's amazing. I think that's great.
But you seem to be also, it seems to be important for you, Gordon, to be, because I know that you work as you mentioned yourself, a vocal coach.
Yeah.
It seems like you, behind the scenes, take on a mentor kind of role for other artists as well, and to guide them into the industry, maybe like you did maybe with Darien when he was new in the industry. Has that always been important for you to be a role model in a way?
I don't think it was something I was focusing on.
Am I right, Darien?
I think Gordon stays in the mix of what's happening with music. I think up to now, how he's vocal coaching, for example, one of the, I don't know if she's, emerging or, if she's there already as a superstar, Tyler, for example, he always keeps his pulse I guess in the streets of music, live, studio, just producers, and to know what music is new, what artists are new, what musicians are new. So I think with that, and with the newer generations wanting to have that information, I think he naturally takes up the role of, just providing some insight, but not necessarily looking to do it, but it just happens. It happens with his level of experience, expertise, and it happens with, us as music lovers always wanting to look back and just learn from what's been done before and just look into how to push the music forward from where we are right now.
Yeah, it's something that I wasn't necessarily pursuing. It kind of came organically to me. People started just approaching me as I was just, out in the streets, just networking in the scenes. People started contacting me, and that need was there. And it's interesting, like it happened organically, but then I didn't really understand the value for other people. And it was other people who told me, Daniel Jones, a close friend of mine, rest in peace, a brilliant keyboard player who was like another little brother to me, who was a band member of mine, band leader of mine for many years. He passed away almost 2 years now. He told me one day, thank you. He told me one day, he said, Gordon, he said, your greatest legacy will be your impact on younger musicians. He said, that will be your greatest legacy. And one time, he just told me that randomly. And he told me that on a day when I was having a hard day. It was not, he didn't tell me this on a happy day for me. He just told me to let me know even on a day that wasn't the happiest day of mine, what I meant to him. And another time he told me, he said, I think I need to tell you this, because I said, it's something that we speak amongst ourselves, but I don't know that you know this. But he said, it's a given in amongst us in New York, like if Gordon calls us for a gig, we will always do his gig. He said, because it's for us when we work with you, it's not a money thing. It's a family thing. And it's a thing in which we know we're just gonna have a good time, and we know we're gonna learn, and you're gonna treat us well. And he just told me one day, he said, we claim you, you're one of us, you're in the band. And it was really a beautiful thing. And actually in one of Tyler's rehearsals, her manager said to me, he said, when you coach, when we have you coach our artists, because I've coached more than one artist for the management, they said, you bring more than just a traditional coach. You bring a lifetime of experiences to the rooms that we have you be in. That's why we love you, and that's why we want you here. So it's been really an honor. I'm 55, young at heart, but I am a man of a certain age and stage.
57, Gordon.
I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing to have, to know that you're making an impact. I don't have kids of my own, but I consider my musical, collaborators that, are younger enough to be either my sons or daughters, siblings, to be, that's such an honor. Because I remember reading once in Quincy Jones's book, he said, he realized at a certain point of his life, in the thick of it all, when he was doing bad, he said, there's nothing more important. He said, you could have any, gold, platinum record success. There's nothing more important than your relationship with your children. Like, you have to get that right. Because when you go in the ground, he wrote it in his book and he's talked about it. He said, when you go in the ground, that's who's going to get up and talk about you. And what are they going to, they're not going to talk about the hit records you made. They're going to talk about who were you as a human being, as a person. It's a great honor to be thought of, with honor as a person. Recently I had the honor, and that was truly an honor, of presenting Barry Eastman a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow, that's nice.
And he didn't know that the organization had me to award him. And I was very young when I met him. So that was just a beautiful moment for both of us. It's really important that we, as a community of musicians, not just make great music, but we make great experiences with the people that we make music with. That we have great experiences even with people like yourself who do interviews with us. Your experiences you're having in life is really your legacy.
Right.
Yeah.
Send my regards the next time you talk to Barry.
Sure.
I got the impression that we should not talk about Barry on this show, but he was also very down to earth and a real family father. He told me that he had his studio in the basement, and I guess you have been there several times.
Many times. And I had used to read his name on credits. I was inspired to one day meet this man, and then finally, by the grace of Phyllis Hyman, rest in peace, who passed away 30 years since she passed. She was the one who I met her at another session with a producer named Dave Hall, who invited me to his home. And I knew exactly who he was. So I'm like overwhelmed that I'm like there with her. And I'll never forget this, because this is what endeared him to me most. Is in the middle of us. Now, she's this legendary artist. His kids came home from school and they just went right on down and they just walked in to say hello to their father. Like, he said, oh, come on in. Like, he paused. They didn't bum rush. He paused and they came into the room to say hello. And he said, this is Mr. Gordon. This is Miss Phyllis, who you've met before. These were his kids, maybe 6 or 7 at that, or 8, 9 at that particular time. They're grown people now with their own kids and spouses. That made such an impression on me, that this was a man whose home I was in. And it was a home that reminded me of my parents' home. It wasn't any bigger or fancier necessarily. It was beautifully accomplished and welcomingly normal. And he was somebody who, in that moment, endeared me so much, because he was balancing music with family so organically. And I remember just the impression that made on him right in that moment. And I said, I want to and I was young in my journey. This was before I had any music out. And I remember thinking that at that moment, if God should have my dreams come true, I want to create that same atmosphere for others that when they, when they work with me in any capacity. I'm grateful to Barry and for the legacy and the imprint he made on me, and I've been able to pass that on to people like Darien and Daniel Jones, who had a key to my house. Daniel stayed in my house whenever he's in New York. This was his home. Darien stays in my home too.
Right.
That legacy passes on, and it's so important.
For you, Darien, for example, you are a how should I say it? The multi-instrumentalist. You sing, you produce, you write. You have been acting some as well, and you are a little bit, may I say, specialized in themes. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I haven't done much acting. Maybe it's something that's possible in the future.
And if he hasn't told me.
I read somewhere, but maybe that's wrong.
Yeah,
You
I
have
had a
done a
movie.
little
I did
acting.
have a movie. It was a short film based on my album 1973, and we had two premieres in the 2021 Tribeca Film Festival. It said I was I think in the Google world, it said that I was film producer as well, which I am, for that project. But yeah, I do play several instruments. I started picking things up in college. As you go through this journey, and especially doing music for movies, doing music for television, the turnarounds are very quick. You'll get a call at 9 o'clock and they'll need it by the next day. So I started wanting to pick up more on playing the bass, playing the guitar, and that's what I started doing, mainly just to work on cues. And also, it served me better even as a keyboardist, which is my primary instrument, and as a musical director, to be able to speak the language with other musicians, what I needed, what the approach should be. It served me well, and even working on my own music, being able to flesh out my own ideas, and even in collaboration, to be able to at least lay down something that's close musically to what I want the end composition to.
Do you think it could be a disadvantage for you in the industry when you have all this talent, this variety of talent? Do you think it would be easier for you if you were only focusing on songwriting or singing or producing a little bit all over the place? And I don't say it in a negative way, because you are so talented, that it's easy for you maybe to how do you say, to get lost in the industry. People don't know exactly where they have you.
I think the flip side of that is you're also easier to find in more places because you do more.
Right.
And I'm able to serve different purposes. Let's say for working on a TV show. I worked on the last 4 seasons of this show that was on CW, which was like a Warner Brothers spinoff network. It was on BT as well, called The Game. I worked on the last 4 seasons of it. Sitcom about some football players, romance, things of that nature. But when I came onto that project, around when I first moved to LA, I came in, and what made it work was that I was able to do some cues for the show, like scoring pieces, but also I was able to do original songs for it as well. So I was able to also make a bigger contribution because I had that multi-layered skill set as well. If anything, it serves me well, and you can only do one thing at one time. So as the opportunities come across, you kind of use what you have to use for that particular moment, and just make yourself available, and to be well-rounded and as versatile as possible. The tides and the industries and the projects that are available, they just so seasonally. So it's good to be able to do different things at any given moment. Make a contribution.
Maybe it's also easier for you to adapt into different genres because you have an eclectic background, and that's a good thing when you are a songwriter, producer, composer, arranger. How do you look upon that, Gordon? You are maybe more specialized, or how should I say?
Yeah, that's accurate. More specialized. Yeah.
What do you think about the industry in general today, because I interviewed Monte Moyer here, as you probably know from the time, producer, keyboardist. Of course, it has been a big change for him for the last 40 years, 30 years in the industry with technology and how we consume music today. We bought our vinyl albums before, or CD records, and now we stream or we purchase songs. And for me, it's has been a bit difficult because I've done my interviews here for almost 15 years now. It's difficult for me now to interview when I interview audio only. I attach music to it related to the artist, for example. But it's difficult for me now to be featured on Spotify, for example, because it's about copyright. And I understand that you guys need to get paid, but I think sometimes when I interview an artist and I promote an artist, it's all positive for the artist and for the label. How should I put it? Today it's more black or white. If you have the music there, you're not allowed. If you don't have any music, it's fine. But if you promote an artist through an interview and you feature music, do you guys think that would be allowed to do? Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. I think that, what do I think? I think that artists have had to learn to swim in deeper and deeper and deeper waters and riptides and seas with alligators, you know what I mean, over the last decade. I think that what you may be experiencing, of course, it may feel personal because it's happening to you, but I wouldn't take it personally. I think a lot of times, a lot of artists are just, they're just trying to monetize what they do in a time when it feels like, everybody will say, well, there's more and more opportunities. It's such a do-it-yourself industry. You can put yourself out there. You don't have to go through a label. But, the fact of the matter, when you look at what artists are making on streams versus sales of songs, it feels rapacious. There's no lesser word I could. Just don't make money on their music anymore. Even the biggest artists, they spend a lot of money to make their music, and then the music has to be then a press release for their touring or their merchandising or their multi-branding with hopefully film and other multimedia opportunities. That's it becomes, and it's expensive to make good music. You still have to pay your producers and your video directors or whatever else. You have to put the money in to create the illusion.
Mixing, promo,
all of that. You know what I mean? It is a lot that people have to. So I think a lot of times creatives are just reacting to that ever changing, the tides of that, and that's a bitter pill to swallow. I mean, I think that people who love this are still going to always do it, but sometimes sometimes they're just trying to do it for less and less. But I mean, we're here because we feel a sincerity in you, and you approached us with humility and integrity, and a love for the music and a genuine appreciation for, I think, what we do. And I can speak for myself. That's why I'm here and grateful,
right. Same here.
to you for providing the time, the space and the time. And I would say to you, don't get frustrated. Don't give up. Don't, it may feel frustrating, but don't give up. Just like there are people like we haven't given up being involved in music, and many days when I have, trust me, wanted to, but we don't give up because we still love music and we still know that we are needed. And I would say to you, because I do hear a frustration in you, don't give up. There are people who still love music, who still love what you do, who still can feel your love for musicians, which is why you do and you interview. Don't give up.
I thank you very much, Gordon. My problem has never been the artists.
Right.
It's only an automized system, like, for example, in Spotify. There's not a person sitting there and listening to each podcast. It's a technique that finds a certain song. So that's what's frustrating. And generally, I prefer to make interviews when I don't see myself. But I think that with those days we have now, I think I can offer, like, for example, you and Darien, a better exposure if we take it like this. Without the music, because people, they have something to look at. They're curious about how you guys look at everything. So we will get a better exposure. That's why I have changed my direction a little bit into this, let's say, TV format. If I purchased Back to Love. I think I bought it on Apple. That's very decent price for me. It's maybe $1 or something. And if I should play this in one of my podcasts, there could be complaints, not from you guys generally, but maybe from some technical system. But what's the difference if I stream the song on Spotify? Okay, there's a difference that you get paid when it's streamed. But if I play the song, it can maybe get more people stream the song. Do you understand? What do you say, Darien, about this?
I
Not
understand.
easy.
I understand what you're saying. I think that one thing about it is that Spotify has a deal with the labels that give them
Right.
that gives them permission to use the song. And if you like go into a bar, right, they also have a license. They have a blanket license with the performance rights
Right.
organizations that give them the license to do it. So I think that with the right partnerships and the right agreements, there won't be as much red tape. If I understand what you're saying, because like on Instagram, for example, DJ D Nice, he doesn't get flagged for playing music because of the relationship and the partnership, and everybody's on the same page with it. So I think it's really a reflection of that, right? When it comes down to it, if everybody knows what's happening, everybody's in agreement, there won't be as much. But I understand, like Gordon mentioned, the frustration with not being able to, play everything freely. But everyone's trying to figure, like you mentioned, everyone's trying to figure out the best way to approach this thing we've invested so much in, when it is performed, when it is played, to make sure that's something that does come up on our statements and something that is reflection. And that's not to show the lack of appreciation for the promotion, because that is appreciated as well. But sometimes it's like, you get so, artists have just gotten tired of the, it'll be good exposure, when the exposure they feel doesn't amount to the promise. I think there can be moments of frustration.
Listen, I want every penny. The music industry, I remember an early mentor explained this to me. Industry is an industry on pennies. Like when you get a royalty statement, sometimes it may be like 0.0001. Like, but after a while you aggregate.
Yeah.
I want every penny, dude.
Right.
Give me my penny, give me my millions, my billions, my trillions, to quote this guy, Malloy. Travis Malloy, Darien. His whole thing is millions, millions, billions, trillions. But I want it all because it's mine. And I want the honor of knowing that it is worth something. You know what I mean? Like it's because it came from my heart. And this is how I make a living. And I do what I do. I don't do what I do for money. I've never been one of those person like that's never been the motivation. But I also don't want, if there's money to be earned that is due to me, I want it. Why should it go to some historically? Let's be clear in the history of Black music in America. So much was Black people, soul music has been the ultimate influencers. The Elvis Presleys have made billions of dollars, both in money and branding and estates. Estates continues to earn, has made billions copying what Black creativity and genius.
Wasn't
So
he
let's really
his songwriter was Otis Blackwell as well, a black songwriter.
many who are and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. So there's been a long history of a manipulation and monopolization of Black copyright creative genius, and for the original international musical influences of everything that we call great in popular culture of music today comes from the cotton fields of the South. So we have to put this conversation in a historical
Absolutely.
perspective. If we're gonna talk about it, we got to really talk fully about it, because that's the truth.
I think it's very important. I very often say that black music has always been at least 10 years ahead of white music in the evolution. How do you look upon that?
I said what I said.
I don't know which number can be put on it, but I mean, every trend that there is, the record showed, who was the originator.
Yeah.
No, I think it's important. I think it's good that we're talking about this, Gordon. If we touch the topic, we could better take it the whole way.
Yes.
From the very beginning. I understand the record label's point of view in one sense. It's a company, it's a business. It's their way to earn money. It's like any other company. But then on the other hand, we have the artist side. I can assume that sometimes it must be a challenge as well for the artist. The commercial side on one hand and the artist integrity on the other hand. They are maybe not always talking to each other in the best possible way. That the label want one thing, and you as a creative person, an artist, you have your integrity and your ideas of how things should sound, for example. But in your role as a mentor, Gordon, do you talk about your young clients' recording contracts, and do you give them a piece of history so they can reflect upon it?
Absolutely. And I advocate to get my people that I know involved with the Recording Academy. I've written many recommendations so that people can become members of the Recording Academy. Absolutely. It's critical that the next generation be more empowered than I was. And I tell the stories, and I tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. I tell it all because I want people to learn from my mistakes, not to do the things. I don't want people to just laud and gloat. I want people to ask me tough questions and have me have the opportunity to tell you the truth, what I did well and what if I had a chance I would redo. And I want you to learn to do better. We continue to thrive. So I can know that that the music itself, it's all about the music. We want the continuation of great music. I want to turn on the radio and know that something great is going to come on to uplift and give me joy in my day, and something new. Because mostly I don't really listen to the new music. I get mostly what I need spiritually uplifted from older music. But I don't want it to be that way. I want there to be continuing.
Same here, Gordon. Exactly.
I want great music in the ether, in the atmosphere, because the times are getting harder. The times are getting more and more divisive and toxic, and people are dying, addiction and health issues and all this kind of stuff. We need great music being made. So I do any and everything I can to promote great musicians making music and knowing how to make a living doing it. This is what's critical. If people get to a point where they feel that they can't make a living doing it, they just won't do it. It's tragic if those dreams will now be deferred. Rents are very high in these urban cities where people want to live to do their networking. And sometimes it pains me, to be honest, because I understand that younger creatives it's harder to just live. It's more expensive to live, to pursue your dreams. You know, sometimes when I get asked to speak at schools, and I've been to Berkeley School of Music, you know, many times, and Berkeley is expensive. And when I've gone there, I have gone to speak in classes that were 80% white. I did not want to do that. I did not want to do that. I wanted, because I know that I can go to any church
Right.
in Brooklyn. I can go to 10, 15, 20. I can tell you every church there is in Brooklyn alone. I don't even have to go into Manhattan and show you musical geniuses. And Darren,
Right.
you know this, far
Yep.
beyond
Mm-hmm.
those who have been admitted into the pearly gates of the finest music school and college. And they deserve to be there more. So when I'm speaking this because that's not my, I want to, and so I want to make an impact wherever I go. So that's why if I'm asked to sing at a church, I'm going to go there and do that and be a blessing there and inspire there. Or if I get invited to a Berkeley School of Music to speak for that 80% white class or whatever it is, I'm going to go and make a difference there and be my good and Black self-righteous musical, historical self, because I want to spread the good news of
But
what this music that I'm so passionate comes from.
But what I don't
I'm
understand,
yeah.
sorry, no, what I don't understand is you said it's 80% white students on Berkeley. Is it about talent or is it about money?
Here we go. All right, I can speak on
take
this
that as a Berkeley alum.
as a Berkeley alum. So Berkeley is now. I looked at how much it costs to get in. It's 3 times as much as it was when I was there, and we aren't making 3 times as much money. No one is, and in fact, people are getting fired. And I'm proud to have gone to Berkeley. I'm proud to have graduated, but also I know that one of the main ways that Berkeley has gotten the reputation that it's gotten has been because of the Black musicians, has been
Right.
because of all the Black, a lot of musicians, some of which, have had to stop going there after maybe a semester or a year, but have toured the world. And then they get recognition from Berkeley for being their alum when Berkeley wouldn't give them, scholarship money. I know how it happens. So it's absolutely a result of the finances. And yes, there's some scholarships as well. But, a big part of it is because of how much it costs just to get into the institution and lack of generational wealth. The historical context of it all contributes to it. So I think that is something that's very, important to mention for sure.
But there has been many. I think that Barry Eastmond has worked there as well, and a lot of famous Black artists have been teaching on Berkeley.
Oh, absolutely. You can always come back and teach,
and
but
it's a bit sad to hear that they are teaching for an audience maybe brought there for money primarily, and maybe talent second.
No,
I wouldn't say that. No,
I
no.
don't want you to misunderstand this.
No.
Because I started this conversation. What I'm saying is that when you love music and you're going to go teach music and you go to teach it at such an acclaimed, estimable place, you want that opportunity to be available for all who deserve to be able to earn it. That's the point that I'm making.
Yes.
Fortunately, because of the economics of these colleges, it's not so.
No.
That doesn't mean you're not honored to be there and be an instructor.
No.
I know some great, amazing instructors that are friends of mine that teach there now. So that doesn't mean that it's not an honor to be able to do so. But it's just there's a bittersweetness about it because you understand what an amazing opportunity that might be for a different, for more students who are deserving.
I fully
It's just
understand.
Economics.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'm on the same speaking terms on this. I just think it's a bit sad. The world is not always equal for all human beings, and there's so much talent. Like you said, you can go to the Baptist church and find a lot of talent.
There are sometimes kids that are 7 and 8 years old in these Baptist churches or Kojic churches or Church of God, AME Zionist churches, Black churches, all of that are 7 and 8 years old, playing. I mean, like just absolutely. I mean, Berkeley could not teach them nothing about what they already know at 7 and 8 years old.
Right.
There are institutions, and then there are also institutions. So,
but how was it for you, Darien, when you attended? Was it a scholarship, or did you have those finances?
I did get a partial scholarship, but it was it was expensive, but just not as expensive as it is now. But I enjoyed my experience. I had a chance to meet some of the most incredible musicians, well-respected musicians, many of which are known today. That are touring, that have been in the studios, that have gone on to do great things. I think that it was a big part of my journey in getting here. So I really appreciate the institution. I appreciate also just the musicians and friends that I've met there as well. So, yeah, nothing but great things to say about it.
From my side, when I hear Berkeley College of Music is one of the finest music institutions that I know of, so the reputation is excellent.
Absolutely.
It must be an honor, like you said, Gordon, to teach there, and also an honor to have been a student there on both sides. But you have decided to stay in New York, Gordon, while Mr. Dorsey he left for LA. What was the reason that you decided to leave for LA, Darien? Was it job opportunities?
I'll say this: New York is my favorite city. I love New York City. Every time I go to New York, it feels like home. But it was definitely for some opportunities. I initially moved to New York after having a lot of label meetings. One of my songwriting partners at the time, Tiwa Savage, she's gone on to do a lot of great things. Originally from the UK and Nigeria, and she's gone on to do superstardom, like career moments. We were going to New York and just having meetings. New York just seemed like the right place for me to move to. And when I came out here to visit, she actually had just moved here. I think there was a session at Babyface's studio at Brandon's Way.
Right.
So we were working here for a few days. And when I was in New York, I wasn't as much on the music production, studio session side of things. And California seemed like the next step for me to make, just as, things kind of movements change, So it was just a good time for me to make the shift. And it's been great. I've been able to accomplish a lot here.
How is it for you, Gordon? Have you thought of leaving?
Oh yeah, many times I was tempted to move. Had great, interest to relocate. I love New York. New York is my favorite city, just like Darien said. I love New York, the energy of New York, and my family is here in New York, and many friends. It's been sad over the years seeing so many of my creatives move. They come and they go. But I'm happy for them because it's better for them to go where they need to go to for their careers, and I'm here. They know that I'm here, and I know that everybody. You'll always see your friends if you live in New York, because everybody has to come to New York once a year for something. Usually, if you're in the industry,
homecoming.
But for me, it was a situation of just like, if I was very tempted, but it was for me. It was like, there's more to life than my career. This is my home. I'm a New Yorker. I love the culture here. I love many things about New York City. The cuisine, the Broadway shows, the hustle, the bustle, the seasons, my family. So for me, it was always like, if I can make a living here, then this is where I will be. God has been provided for me to be able to make a living here. So this is where I have stayed.
Is it a good comparison to say that Brooklyn is the Bay Area of New York?
That Brooklyn is what?
Of New York, if you compare it to the Bay Area down in Los Angeles, San Francisco, because it's a very dynamic kind of environment there. And I've heard that in Brooklyn, it's also very it's a multicultural place to say, and if something is multicultural, it's often very creative and dynamic. Is that a good way to describe Brooklyn, the music wise? Or
I haven't spent much time in the Bay Area. Darren, you'd be a better answer for that question.
I would liken Oakland more to like Philly. I've heard people liken Oakland to also Detroit in ways. Brooklyn is a part of like, the biggest, city in the country. Is the biggest city in the world? Is it?
It's the
New York?
New York. I don't know if it's in the world, but I mean, Brooklyn. I know that Brooklyn, if it was its own city, would be considered the fourth largest city in America.
In America, yeah, it's huge. There are a lot. New York was an entry point. Well, I think there's even more diversity in Brooklyn as well, and even more culture and just historical moments. And in a lot of ways, it really can't be compared. It's a very special place. New York as a whole is, and even Brooklyn.
Typical
the boroughs inside of
question
Brooklyn.
from a Swede.
Yes, it's a deep place.
What's in the pipeline here for you, Gordon, for example, in the nearest future? What's your current?
It's interesting. I have 3 house records coming out. This is hilarious, but these are songs that I recorded years ago. Have been remixed. Well, one is a fresh new recording that's coming out that we recorded this many years ago with this DJ Kenny Carpenter. So he's finally releasing that record. There's 2 different remixes, house remixes of songs that were on my first solo album that are coming out this year. It's like out of the blue. And it's like,
nice.
This is my 30th sort of year as a charting songwriter, but it's also the 20th year anniversary. So it's really just nice that, people will be dancing to these records I made.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Been featured. I've done some work as a featured vocalist on an album, a songwriter named James Day. So those records that as a feature will be coming out.
UK guy or? Yes.
And I'm also just, continuing to coach people, consistently coaching lots and lots of artists. Living in New York, being creative. I'm very involved with elder care with my parents. So that takes up a lot of my time and energy. Mama's calling before we started and she's waiting for my call back. So that's kind of my life these days, but enjoying life.
How about you?
Yeah.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yeah, so over here I've been working a lot. I've been in the studio this week with an artist who's amazing. I generally don't, talk publicly about a lot of the projects that I'm currently working on because, most of what we work on doesn't actually come out. So I just try to reserve the name drop for the moments where I know the deal is sealed.
Yeah.
But, very excited about some of the collaborations that I'm also I'm working on a new follow-up album. And it's been like maybe 4 or 5 years now. 4 years and some change at this point since I released my first album. And it's very exciting to do a follow-up. It's kind of uncharted territories for me still. So I'm looking forward to just, creating some new music and contributing,
I have difficulties to pronounce the name on your album. It's nine.
Sure.
Tell me how it's pronounced. Your solo album.
1973. So it's like
that was so easy.
The numbers 1973.
Yes, right. 1973. Yeah. That was
yes.
Slightly different than your work with for example Gordon. It's very eclectic. A mixture of gospel and soul and R&B and almost 70s psychedelica. Inspired you to record an album like that? Are you a big fan of gospel? Where you come from?
For sure. I grew up playing in church. My dad has a decent sized record collection as well. He's a big fan of like 70s rock, folk, psychedelic stuff, gospel, disco, Motown. He kind of gave me my love for music. My mother likes it too. My father was, shared more of his musical taste more through his record collection. I grew up as a huge fan of 90s R&B music as well. Well, a lot of the production that I've done with Gordon is kind of a reflection of my love for, gospel, R&B, 90s R&B, just the particular stuff, right? The chord, the sound
Melodic,
choice, the drums. Exactly, melodic.
right?
And for my album, I wanted to, for sure do some more experimentation and kind of speak to this other side that I wanted to tap into a bit more. I work with Raphael Sadiq, Tara Stinson, Adrian Young, Ali Shaheed Muhammad. I work with them on Luke Cage, and just being around a lot of other lovers of soul music and of the music from the late 60s and 70s. It kind of, put me in a good headspace and made me feel extremely confident about pursuing the other direction, with music, like the eclectic side, the soulful side, the psychedelic folk stuff, so it's very exciting.
Do you agree, Gordon, when I say that Darien's music is you have a talent to update an old sound to a fresh sound. Your music is very contemporary, but still you have one foot in the maybe 60s and 70s. Has that been important for you?
Me?
Yeah,
I think Darren's music is a conversation with another time in music that inspires him. That's what I feel. It's like it's a conversation. It's a musical conversation.
I love your
I think
work
his
with,
project 1973 was a conversation with music from the 70s
right,
that he loves.
a
Maybe he'll
tribute
do
almost.
1980. Maybe he'll do 1983, and that would be a conversation with the 80s.
Mm. The Candace Cole's fingerprints. Is it you behind the
Maybe he'll
EP?
do 19 R&B.
19 R&B
90s.
free.
Next one is 23.
Right.
Yeah, Candace. Yeah.
Is it the EP? Is it you behind all the songs on the EP?
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Candace Cole's fingerprints. Gordon actually co-wrote one of the songs on there, Nervous. That's very exciting. Candace and I went to Berkeley together. We met like around the first week of our freshman year of college, and she's still a good friend of mine now. Yes, that was very cool. We worked on that, I think maybe 2009 to 2010, a lot of which we also worked on at not only my place in Crown Heights, Brooklyn at the time, but also at Gordon's spot also. And it one of my favorite projects just because of just the freedom, just not thinking about anything else other than making this music that we love. And, just being young and excited,
I think
a
there's
much more innocent time.
There are 6 songs, and 4 of
Yeah.
them sounds very in the same kind of mood, and there's 2 tracks that sounds very different. If I take the title track, we have The Greatest, Saturated, and Nervous. Those songs have a similar kind of feel to it, and then there's 2 other songs very different. That's why I thought you maybe worked with
I Own the Night,
or
I Own the
fixed-
Night, and Young, Beautiful, Fabulous.
Yes.
I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it important for you to deliver different things, or was it by coincidence that they sound so different?
Yeah, well, I think that the textures of up tempo records are going to be different than the ballads. More rhythmic, more percussive on the up tempo ones, moving bass lines more on the up tempo ones, and on the ballads, it'll be a bit more soothing. It'll be a little bit more of a smoother approach. And I think when making an album, you want to have these moments. I remember as I was getting introduced to classical music in my
Right.
elementary years, the composers would do big orchestral hits in the middle of the pieces
Mm.
to wake people up, right? To keep them going. And I think that when you're making an album, you want to have those same moments where they're listening and they're kind of in the zone. Then you transport them to this other place. And over a period of 6 songs, you want to have these moments where you kind of can uplift. And I think those 2 pieces on the album were important in doing that.
Yeah, there's R&B today is very ambient, environmental. It's a lot of soundscapes, and that's also these 4 songs I mentioned to you first. Moody, melodic, dreamy kind of sound. But I was also very happy, actually, Gordon, when you said that you were working on house tracks. I've been a big fan of house music since the Chicago days, on tracks, records, and those in the mid '80s. And I think it might be a good way to adapt to a new audience, to have your songs remixed into a soulful house kind of sound. Were you approached by this DJ, or was it a plan you had that you wanted to do those remix songs?
It just happened out of the blue. Like, it just happened. They just wrote me an email like, "Hey, we've done this house remix. Can we put this out?" You know, it just organically just came to me. And I love it. Why not?
So can we have maybe Back to Love as well on a soulful house remix made by you, Darien?
Why not?
I think it would be a great song. It would be fit into another kind of format as well. So guys, you should go and take care of your parents, Gordon. I have the same kind of religion.
I'm sorry that Danny has been he's been doing some work in my background.
Problem.
I apologize. He's been like kind of back and forth. Sorry about that. I didn't. I told him. I should have told him. Sorry.
It doesn't matter. I had a carpenter running into my studio when I was interviewing Tina Marie some years ago. I couldn't tell him to leave. I lost both of my parents within a year. My father lost.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I had also a close relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be stressful as well when they are getting older. I fully understand that you have to take care of them. Do you have any children, Darien?
One more time.
Do you have any children?
Children? No, I don't have any children.
No, neither do I. The 3 of us, we don't have any children. Do you miss it, guys? It's still time maybe for us men, but I don't have it in my plans. Do you miss Gordon?
Not at all. I like children who come and children who go. I am very happy.
Right.
It's easier when it's not your own children.
Exactly.
How about you, Darien?
No, I'm good where I am right now. I wouldn't change it.
Okay, let's leave that discussion.
And Berkeley's expensive.
Yes.
We got, like, you know how your parents just say we got McDonald's at home? We got Berkeley at home. I'm Berkeley.
Berkeley's tuition has gone up since the days of 1973.
What you need to know, I'll teach you. We got Berkeley at home.
The kindergarten of Berkeley. Okay, guys, it was a true pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Nice to talk to you as well, Darien, and nice
Absolutely,
to talk to you again, Gordon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
I'll let you know when the interview is available.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time. I'm honored to have the possibility to talk to the 2 of you, and keep doing what you're doing. I really love what you do, guys.
Thank you very much.
To your legacy.
And may the music get back to love, back to the way it used to be.
Exactly.
That's
right.
Final words.
Yes. Thank you for having us. God bless you.
Yeah, take care,
Thanks,
guys.
man.
All the best.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bye.
Welcome to Soul Interviews on soulandeffect.com. The sound of emotion.